So I gotta be 100% honest. If you have only read the manga for the finale and you dropped the anime a long time ago, I highly, and I mean highly, recommend at the very least watch this episode, because okay, yeah, you already seen how the fight went down, yeah, you seen the conversation of them laying on the rocks, but this episode added a lot more than the video game and the manga added regarding the finale, you know, the overall closing of the Naruto story. Now, mind you, one of the things that this episode did not include, which I'm imagining it's going to be ages before we see it, is all of the events of chapter 700, because essentially this episode covered all of 699 and the very end of chapter 700, talking about the legacy of Naruto. But one of the things that this episode did that none of the adaptations have done thus far is it added a lot more exposition as to what happened after the war, after Naruto versus Sasuke, because in the manga, you just had, okay, the funeral scene, this scene, that scene, okay, you know, they saying bye, which, don't get me wrong, was still good, but this one gets more detail, gives you more emotion at the same time. I'm not gonna lie. As watching the episode, I laughed, I cried, I laughed, I cried, I was intrigued, I cried, I cried a lot like a bitch. Like, I don't know, every week now, Naruto, I guess because I've spent so much time with the series, I feel as though, like, I'm shedding tears every episode, but I definitely felt that with this episode as well. And, like, just seeing from the beginning of the episode, and I want to talk about everything because, again, this seems as though, until further notice, this is going to be the finale of the canon material from the manga. The only thing from the manga that hasn't been animated now is majority of chapter 700, the epilogue, which, again, I'm guessing maybe late 2017, 2018, before they jump into Boruto stuff, is when they're going to do that. But the beginning of the episode, seeing the reunion, the true reunion, because we've had, you know, them scrape and fight and stuff like that, but the true reunion of who they used to be, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura with Kakashi, and them all laughing together, that felt priceless. Like, just being able to actually see that moment and Kakashi say he's finally back. Like, this time he's actually back. It's not like, you know, when he popped up in the war and he was side by side with them because he still had his ulterior motives. This time, the real Sasuke that we all knew in the beginning of the series is finally back. And I felt like, oh man, you know, it's been a long time coming and it finally happened. Also, this episode sets up for the further events regarding everybody kind of worshiping Naruto. Like, the whole village, like, can we get an interview, this and that? Because if you've seen the last Naruto the movie, you've seen, of course, the Boruto movie, you know that Naruto is really popular because of his actions in the war and saving the world and everything. Everybody loves this dude now, which, again, is a far contrast from how it used to be. You know, they always used to treat him like shit or whatever, but this episode sets up for those events and it makes you understand, oh shit, in the last, yeah, this is why he's popular. It started way before then, right after the war ended. It was like, they were already like, oh, we love Naruto, we love Naruto. You fake ass motherfuckers that treated him like shit. I just gotta add that in there. So you got that set up, and then of course it gets a little more into detail regarding the whole prosthetic arm that he gets later on that you see in the last, because I know a lot of people were kind of confused when they ended the manga and then they see in the last Naruto had that bandage around and stuff like that. Like, if we would have had this episode prior to the last, it would have already made more sense, but they definitely went into more detail regarding that as well, which was kind of nice because it was kind of like, oh, a quick little throwaway line, like, yeah, I got a prosthetic or whatever, but this episode goes a little bit more into detail regarding those events as well. I think one of my favorite additions that they added that was not in the manga or the video game was seeing Sasuke actually in jail. Like, he didn't just like, oh, yeah, the war's over, okay, yeah, go. Like, they actually imprisoned him for a period of time. They had him wrapped up with, you know, a blindfold and everything so he couldn't use his eyes. So that definitely was a nice addition to see that it wasn't just 100% that he got away scot-free. I mean, don't get me wrong, ultimately, he didn't receive no punishment. They pardoned him because of Kakashi and Naruto and all of his crew testifying on his behalf. So that he actually didn't get no severe punishment, but that was a great addition to see that, yeah, he was probably shitting himself like, oh shit, they're about to do something big to me. And I think had they punished him with some type of punishment, I think he probably wouldn't have went on his road to redemption in the end, because it was like, well, I didn't really receive any punishment, I gotta go figure things out myself then. And we also get to see the actual induction of Kakashi into the Hokage office, becoming Hokage. It was like, I couldn't actually believe that they were giving us every step. Like, this is something that, again, if you only read the manga, you have not checked out the anime in a long time because you already saw what happened, you should at least check this episode out, because it's new content, it's definitely feeling canon, it's probably stuff that Kishimoto wanted to add had but didn't, and it's good. It flows a lot better than I would say chapter 699 or how the video game did it. Something I felt that they could have expanded on more, but I guess they were pressed for time because they wanted to comprise all this information into one episode, was the funeral. Like, don't get me wrong, I still had the feels. I was like, oh, but I think they could have actually expanded that at least a few more minutes, because it's like, you got Neji's grave. Of course, you have Shikamaru and Ino's parents as well. Like, they could have definitely added a few more minutes into it, but what we did get, I ain't gonna lie, they did a real nice job. It looked great, the scenes and everything like that, and seeing everyone cry, like, it hit me in the feels too. So what they did give us was great. I think they could have expanded a bit more on that, since they were expanding on everything else. And then another addition that I love that they added, because everybody's always had this conversation on how the hell Naruto saved the village from pain, he saved the village from this and that, and they never really addressed his ranking as far as him being, a genin and stuff like that. The fact that they said, yeah, he's gonna become a jonin, like, they actually prepped him, and actually it fits nicely as well. Like, they added so many different things that fits nicely to set up for later events. Like, okay, you need knowledge as well to be Hokage. You're great. You can kick anyone's ass. Awesome. But you need to be a good leader at the same time. And it kind of showcased that Naruto still has that immaturity in him when he was trying to jump out the window. I don't want to study. It showcased who Naruto truly is at heart. He's still that little kind of bratty kid from time to time, but ultimately this is what's going to prep him to become the Hokage someday, to become a good leader, and ultimately become a better person. And one of the moments that I really enjoyed as well, because again, don't get me wrong, I really just enjoyed the whole episode. I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like this episode was amazing, but I loved the moment with Naruto and Iruka Sensei, and how he said, you were the one that started all this for me, because I used to just not like anyone. Everybody treated me like shit, so I kept it to myself, and you were the first person to acknowledge me, sing the swing set. I know people joke like, oh, it's the swing set, but in all honesty, that's where it all began. That's where Naruto was on the swing set, and everybody was with their parents, and he was all alone, and Iruka was the first one. So them even adding that scene, that was pretty much the only parental figure, or, big brother type of figure that he had, was Iruka, when he actually looked out for him and stuff like that. So to get that, it kind of felt like the whole story did a 360. Like, we went from there to he's still there. Iruka's still there for him. And I'm kind of glad Iruka didn't die or anything in the war, because that would have been fucked up that the one person that truly acknowledged him to begin with was gone. And then, of course, the goodbye. Like, I honestly felt as though the line from Sakura definitely shouldn't have been in there. Like, can I go with you? Because she got shot down again. I mean, don't get me wrong. We know what happens later on. And the fact that Sasuke did it the way he did, he didn't just say you're annoying and knock her out or something like that, shows that things have slightly changed. But it also showcases Sasuke's character, that at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy for Sakura to, hug onto his dick as he's traveling through the woods. She's going to have to work for it. So the way he went about it, saying, maybe some other time, that was to showcase that there is some progression there. He does somewhat care about her. Personally, I think it looks as though it's more as friends and not the way Sakura wants it, but we know how ultimately everything turns out. They end up, having a grand old pig sex time, and Sarada is born. I can't believe I just referred to it as pig sex, but yeah. And the goodbye between Naruto and Sasuke. I mean, it was great the way the manga did it. It didn't have too many differences in the anime, but it was nicely done as well. I think they took out a line that I really did like in the video games, and I think it was in the manga as well, where Sasuke's talking about, we were children starved of love and stuff like that. Like, I love that line in the manga and the video game. I think that they should have added that as well in the anime. And with them having that final scene from chapter 700 talking about the legacy of the Kyuubi and the Jubi and stuff like that, it seems as though the epilogue chapter is probably a long way from now, and they're probably gonna maybe slightly rebrand Shippuden once we get to the novels, or keep it as Shippuden through the novels, and then once we get to the Boruto era, that's where they're gonna rebrand the anime entirely into, like, Boruto Naruto the anime or something like that. Because yeah, them keeping that extra piece of content, the epilogue, which, don't get me wrong, I would have loved for them to just have it in there, but I understand what they're doing. So yeah, they're gonna continue. Like, Naruto anime, even though for a lot of people I feel as though the anime ends here. I feel as though a lot of people, like, we got everything, chapter 700, whatever, that's years away from now, I don't care. A lot of people probably at this particular point are gonna stop, but there's still a lot more story that they're gonna have, and eventually we will have a Boruto anime. I think that almost 100% solidifies and confirms the Boruto anime will come one day. Probably 2018, 2019, once they get past this Boruto Naruto the movie crap, but it will come. And with all that being said, two things that I said about the episode that I personally think that they should have done: expanded on the funeral, and also the fact that they didn't have the events from chapter 700 entirely in there. That was probably what I felt felt was wrong with the episode, but as a whole, I felt as though it was a great job. They added so much content that was not in the manga or the video game, and I honestly feel as though for the finale of Naruto, the anime is the best adaptation, hands down. Like, I think every single fucking scene, from Killer Bee making me laugh to another scene making me cry, is like, they did a phenomenal job. And yeah, for a lot of people, I know this is probably it for you. I don't know if I'm going to keep on reviewing the filler episodes that are coming or whatever they have planned. I think I might do the novel stuff, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to go as far as reviewing it. But for the people that are piecing out, they're saying, you know, this is it, they pretty much ain't going to do 700 for a while. I completely understand, and I'm so glad you guys were a part of this journey with me throughout Naruto anime. But let me know what you guys' thoughts. How did you feel about the finale? Do you feel as though this is indeed the best adaptation of the finale of Naruto regarding chapter 699 and all the extra tidbits that they added, and your overall feels? I ain't gonna lie, like I said, I laughed, I cried, I felt interested, I cried, I laughed. It was one hell of an emotional roller coaster. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.